There are many distinguished guests with us this evening, musicians, songwriters, jazz authorities, girlfriends whose couches we've slept on, family and friends of our honorees. Please forgive me for not acknowledging every one of you by name, but I applaud each of you, and I thank you for joining us as we honor some of the great names in jazz history. I'd like to single out, however, Phoebe Jacobs and our friends who are here from the Louis Armstrong Educational Foundation for their undying efforts.
Gabriel Santiago of Texas Northeast Impressions Suite. Jeffrey Shield of Florida, who wrote Magali. Is that correct, Jeffrey? Magali? Magali. Elijah Schiffer of New York, Rogues Island. Before I go on, I just want to tell you, I've had the opportunity to judge this a couple of times, and you sit there and listen to these compositions, and you can't believe it. You can't believe how much work and effort and beauty goes into this work by these people. So I'm very, very proud of these guys.
The name Thelonious Monk to the Ascap Jazz Hall of Fame, accepting this honor are Monk's son and daughter-in-law, Thelonious Sphere Monk III and Gail Monk.
Wow, what a pleasure to be here this evening. For those of you who know me, you know that I'm not a man of few words. For those of you who don't, I'll let you know that I can be. What I'd like to say is that my dad was a good guy. I mean, he was a good man. He was a good father. He put me on his leg. He took me everywhere. I look at the wall here, and I see so many of his best friends. Duke Ellington was Thelonious' mentor, for those of you who don't know. Count Basie was another mentor for Thelonious Monk. That's why in that piece of footage where you see Thelonious and Count Basie, Count was looking at him so hard because he was checking him out. See, well, what is my guy doing? I see his best friends, Art Blakey, Sonny Rollins. I see his favorite singers, Sarah Vaughan and Dinah Washington. I see his Boone Coon buddy, Charlie Christian. You know, Thelonious was a people person. And despite his rather flamboyant personality or persona that everyone saw, he was really a very, very laid-back guy. He didn't toot his horn too often. Hot summer day, and they were sitting in the house, in the kitchen in 63rd Street, that famous apartment with the piano in the kitchen. I often tell people it wasn't about choice. The place was so, anything that was in the apartment was in the kitchen, actually. But he was there with my mom and her brother and his girlfriend and his brother and his sister. And it was just a hot summer afternoon. And out of nowhere, and I checked this, I double-checked this with all of them while they were still living. Out of nowhere, he said, you know I'm going to be more famous when I'm dead. An odd thing to come out of the mouth of a burgeoning young musician who hadn't even really done anything yet. And he has become even more famous since he has passed on to the next life. But one of the things I'd like to tell you about him personally is that Thelonious was very, very interested in some basic fundamental things. He was of the tradition of the music. And he was enormously hurt. If you want to talk about what hurt Thelonious, it hurt Thelonious, who had grown up under Duke Ellington, James P. Johnson, Jelly Roll Morton, personal mentors, when they said, oh, well, you know, this Monk guy, he's not of the tradition. That really hurt him. Of course, we know now that Thelonious is tradition. He is what tradition is all about. So he was right. And one day I asked him, I said, Dad, what's the most important component of music? Now, I'm a drummer, so I'm kind of leading towards, kind of a rhythm thing, but that's just wishful thinking on my part. And he turned to me and he said, a haunting melody. He said, a haunting melody, that's the mother stone, that's the load there, that's what it's all about. Now, when the critics said that Thelonious songs made no sense at all, that really, really hurt. Of course, 50 years later, I would suspect anyone in this audience who is a Monk fan can probably recall off the top of their head more Thelonious Monk melodies than anybody's melodies, because Bird's melodies are really, really hard to remember. And Miles' melodies are very, very esoteric. But Monk's melodies, it doesn't matter. Round Midnight, Straight No Chaser, Rhythm-a-Ning, Monk's Dream, the list goes on and on and on. He could write a melody. I tell you this because I've had the honor and the privilege to do a lot of collecting since my dad passed away. Since he passed away, I've gone and collected a Lifetime Grammy for him. I've stood a few blocks away and watched them name the street after him that he was born on. I've been down to the Smithsonian Institution to commemorate a display in his honor. I've seen him on the cover of Time magazine. I've had presidents like Bill Clinton and George Bush honor Thelonious Monk at the White House. But I have to tell you that being here today and being honored by one of the great, great homes of melody, this Thelonious would have really dug. For real.